So the idea is that the axle blocks will mount, I reckoned about 1.5 inches in from the end is probably about right, like that, and obviously on the opposite side as well, like that. And then we'll put the axles in place and we'll put the wheels on so you get an idea. So that's the axles. The wheels will hopefully fit on like that. You get the idea. And obviously same on the other side. Now what I've got to do is the axles are over long at the moment. I deliberately made them longer so I've got room to manoeuvre. So what I've got to do now is thread the ends of the axles to take the 8mm lock nuts, which will hold the wheels in place. The axles won't actually rotate, although they are free to rotate. The wheels will rotate around the sleeves that are that go over the axles. So that's the way it's going to work. And there's the end on view. So yeah, so I need to thread the ends, as I said, of the axles, and that will lock the wheels in place. So the only other thing is, obviously I've got to drill some holes in the wooden frame for the axle block, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Now obviously I've got to accurately transfer the position of these holes onto the wooden frame for drilling. So this is what I came up with. Let's move the camera around a little bit so you can see a bit clearer. There we go. Yeah. So basically I just knocked up some transfer punches, very simple transfer punches on the lathe, and they will simply pop into the tapped 6mm stud holes like that. Then I will turn it upside down, get this all lined up nicely, and just squeeze this down onto the wood, which will create impressions for the holes, and hopefully we will have holes for the 6mm bolts in exactly the right place. I'm a big fan of transfer punches. I've got a full set obviously, but they're generally obviously very long, so these are just custom made ones, and I'll be able to use these again whenever I need to transfer blind holes like this that are 6mm, and 6mm is quite a common size in the kind of work that I do. So yeah, so they'll transfer the position of the holes onto the wooden frame ideally. Well, the transfer punch method worked really well. I'll show you how we did. Because it's softwood, I was able to simply line the axles up and the axle blocks where I wanted them, and then simply press down to initially mark the places, and of course that located them quite well, both there and there, and yeah, it worked out well. And then I just used the little G-clamp there to squeeze the blocks down onto the wood to get me some decent size transfer punch holes, and we're ready to go. So all I need to do now is drill those out 6mm for the mounting bolts, and I've still got to thread the ends of the axles 8mm. I can do that on the lathe, that won't be a problem, and hopefully we'll be ready to go to mount the whole lot. Obviously still got to finish the wood. That'll be the very last thing that I do. I want to make sure it all goes together properly before I get to that stage. Okay, so this is the setup. I've got it clamped firmly to the drill press table using the old G-clamp. Just to ensure that this stays level with the table, and we'll get a nice straight hole. Then what I'll do is flip it over to the other side so that I can counterbore the holes from the top to a certain depth, which will allow the bolt heads to disappear on the top side. It'll just make it look a lot nicer. So just close it on that a bit. There we go. So we'll just get this done. So now we'll change it out for a force and a bit for the counter bore, and then flip it over. But before I change it out, I will use this drill to line up the hole so that it's still, you know, all in the same place. Okay, so I flipped it over. We're on the top side now, and that lines up nicely. So we'll whip that out, put the force and a bit in, and we will set the depth stop. Let's show you. This is the Craftsman drill press has got a very, very nice depth stop. There we go. So we'll set that to just under 1/2 inch, which will give me the right amount of thread sticking out the bottom, and we should be good to go. Okay, depth stop is set. And the job is done. It's probably running a bit fast for that force and a bit, but I can't be bothered to change the speeds between the drill and the force and a bit. That'll do fine. So, 7 more to go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, it's that time of the day when we come to cock up time. So this is the top of one of the main beams of the trolley, and I drilled the holes out, flipped it over and counterbored these two, which come out very nicely. So that's exactly what you want. Unfortunately, I must have been away with the fairies when I did these two at this end, because they're on the wrong side. Yep, I counterbored the wrong side. This is the bottom, and they should be flat, not counterbored. So, yeah, annoying, yes. End of the world, not if you've got a lathe. Because if you've got a lathe, you can make any size wooden dowels you like. So what I've done is I've simply made up a dowel with, these are 12mm counterbores, made up a dowel that's going to fit in those holes. I'll put some white glue on it, tap it in place, cut it off flush, and that will block up those counterbores, and then I simply have to, once the glue's dried, I simply run the drill through again, and we'll have 2 flush holes. So yeah, it's annoying, and I should have been paying attention, but this will fix the problem very easily. So that's the first one in. I'm just going to put some white glue on the end of this. Doesn't need much. There we go. Place in the hole like so, and gently tap into place. There we go. I'll wipe off the excess glue, and once it's dry, we'll cut it off, and that'll be, sand it down, and that'll be those wrong counterbores plugged. Cock up averted. Right, it's ready for its first preliminary assembly. Hopefully we will be able to put it all together and make a trolley out of it. I've threaded the ends of the axles, they're ready to go, and you can have a look at the dowel repair. I think it's those two there. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, there you go. So that's the holes I had to plug with the dowels, and I've re-drilled them, and that all worked out fine. So yeah, we are basically ready to go now to put this thing together as a trolley for the first time. Now obviously once I've done that, I'm going to have to strip it all down again, because I still need to treat the wood, but yeah, hopefully we'll actually have a trolley. Well, it's finally done. The cock up I did with the counterbores, which were on the wrong side of this beam for 2 of the holes, putting dowels in, re-drilling them, that worked absolutely fine, so I was saved on that one. Let's turn it over so you can see the underside. There we go. So yeah, it worked out well. It's pretty good. I'm quite pleased with it. The next stage obviously is I need to take it apart and finish the wood off with some finishing oil, which I will do, and I also need a handle for it to pull it, obviously. But yeah, quite pleased with the way it turned out. I'll flip it back over and we'll put the pump on it. So there you go with the pump on it. I've just pushed the bolts in. I haven't actually bolted the pump down, but yeah, as you can see, it moves quite freely. I think that will do perfectly fine as a little trolley for it. And yeah, it turned out okay. As I said, I'm not a carpenter or woodworker or anything, but I can work in wood when I need to, and I'm quite pleased. I think it turned out all right. So next stage is to take it all apart again and then treat the wood so that we can finally assemble it, and then I've got to come up with some sort of handle for it. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. So there you go, the trolley for the water pump.